Hey guys, for today's video we are going to be doing a first impressions and tutorial using the brand new Jeffree Star Cosmetics Blue Blood palette. And I don't know about you guys, but I am so beyond excited about this palette. When I first saw it launched, I just knew I had to have it. I am a huge sucker for the packaging alone. Like, it kind of has like a coffin look to it, and if you guys know me at all, like, definitely this is my aesthetic. Not to mention a blue eyeshadow palette. Like, I have never seen a like true like blue eyeshadow palette ever done, so I really give props to Jeffree for kind of shaking up the beauty community in 2019. So a little bit about this palette is that it retails for $52 on Jeffree Star Cosmetics as well as Beautylish and Morphe. Personally, I purchased mine on Beautylish because if you spend $35 on Beautylish, you get free 2-day shipping, which I definitely think is a steal. And not to mention, if you have never purchased from Beautylish, they have amazing customer service. So let's get this palette up close and personal so you guys can see the detailing. But as you can see in the center here, it says Blue Blood with some absolutely beautiful, intricate detailing around that. And when we turn her, you can see this girl is thick. Like, she's probably about an inch and a half thick, which is definitely a lot bigger than the Blood Sugar palette. But I also do want to mention this clasp right here is metal, which is a really nice touch. Blood Sugar had like a clasp over in here as well as on the other side, and this one has one in the center, which is really cool. And as you can see, like, the edging of this is kind of like beveled, which is a really beautiful touch. It kind of gives like a coffin vibe in my opinion, or like a really nice fancy jewelry box. It's just really absolutely stunning. And then for those curious, here is the bottom of the palette. And then when we open her up, you can see that there is a really nice mirror in here, and it has some really beautiful, intricate detailing around the sides of it. I just really like how these kind of palettes have a nice sizable mirror that you can easily do your whole face with. And in this palette, there are 18 eyeshadows in here, 6 of which are shimmer and the rest are matte. But yeah, so with all of that said, let's jump right into trying out this palette. So off camera, I just applied my eyeshadow primer like normal, and the first shade that I'm going to go into is called Wealthy with the Real Techniques medium shadow brush. So with this shade, I'm just doing a really light layer to help set my eyeshadow primer, just to help with the blending process later on. So the next shade that I'm going to go into is called Minty, and it's kind of like a mint green, of course, and I'm going to go in with this Makeup of the Day Build and Blend brush. And then with this shade, I'm applying it into the crease originally, and then I'm just going to be buffing and blending it upwards towards my brow bone. This will be our transitional shade for this look. I'm doing like little circular motions as well, just to help me with the blending process. I'm also using it to kind of round out my outer V. So once you have Minty applied, I am now going to go into I'm Cold, which I actually am really cold right now, and I'm going to go in with my Sigma E35 tapered blending brush. And then with this shade, I'm just going to apply it into my crease again, just to help deepen things up, and I'm also using it to kind of round out my outer V. I'm just kind of doing little circular motions just to blend this into Minty just a little bit more. I just want to say I'm actually really impressed with how these lighter blue shades are blending out and applying, because a lot of times with like lighter pastel shades, they get super chalky and they kind of get really weird on the lid, but these ones are blending out like an absolute dream. And again, using that same brush, I'm now going to go into the infamous Blue Blood, which is kind of like a medium blue shade. And again, with this shade, I'm applying it into my crease just to help deepen things up, as well as kind of round out my outer V. This is just how I like to do my eyeshadow. If you don't want to use this many colors, you definitely don't have to, but this is just like my personal preference. I'm just doing little circular motions just to blend everything out. I don't know if you guys are like this too, but using this palette and like wrecking like the little imprints is just like killing me, because they are just so stinking cute. I mean, like, seriously, like, look at that blend. Like, I literally just only blended it for maybe like 20 seconds, if that, and like, it is just so beyond beautiful. I'm at the point with the look that I don't know where I want to take it. Like, part of me wants to kind of use like this green kind of shade down in here. Then the other part of me wants to use like Hello Monday and kind of make it like a purpley blue look. And then the other part of me wants to use Deceased because it's a really beautiful blue. But I think I'm going to go into Deceased, and I'm going to go in with this Real Techniques Essential Crease Brush. And then with Deceased, I'm just adding it into my crease again and then into my outer V, just to help deepen things up and to get a really nice defined crease. By using a fluffy brush, I should be able to knock off some of that shimmer quality of the shadow, make it appear a little bit more matte or a little bit more of a satin finish. So I just want to show you guys this, but Deceased is kind of giving me a harsh line that's kind of hard to blend out. It's kind of like right over in here in my crease area. And I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to try to blend it out. I'm taking a little bit of I'm Cold again on that Makeup of the Day Build and Blend brush from earlier, and I'm just going right over that harsh line completely, and I'm doing like back and forth and little circular motions just to try to blend out the edge, just to get a really nice blend. And as you can see, I still kind of have it right here. It's not super prominent, but it is kind of noticeable. So once you have everything blended out, I am now going to go into Cremated because I am deceased. That was a really bad joke, but I am going to go in with this Luxie 231 small tapered blending brush, which is amazing for doing crease work. And then with this teeny tiny little brush, I'm just going to apply cremated directly into my crease, as well as into my outer V for added definition. And I'm doing like back and forth motions right now, just to get the color applied to where I want it to be. But dang, that color is pigmented. Ooh, that's a really beautiful shade. I was kind of worried if it was going to be kind of like gray or if it was going to have like a green look to it, but it's definitely kind of like a deeper kind of gray blue color. It is so pretty. So to help me blend out cremated into everything else, I'm just taking a little bit more of Deceased on that Real Techniques Essential Crease Brush from earlier, and I'm going right over cremated, doing little circular motions just to blend everything together. I'm also making sure not to forget that outer V because that will clock it pretty good. I do want to warn you though, with this cremated shade, you do want to work in really light layers because it can be kind of tricky to blend out. As you can see, I do have kind of a harsh line. It's not really a big deal. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of Blue Blood on this Sigma E35 from earlier. I'm going right over the edge just to see if I can get a little bit better of a blend. But a lot of these like deeper shades, they can be just a little bit more tricky to blend out, which isn't a bad thing. You just have to kind of do a little bit more elbow grease with them. But they are really pigmented and they're really easy to kind of get where you want it to be. You just have to kind of take the time to do it. And as you can see, like it got a little bit better, but I still kind of have that harsh line over in here. I will say the darker shades in this palette appear to be a little bit trickier to blend out. Like you can get them to blend out just like you can with Blood Sugar, but it feels like you just need a little bit more elbow grease to kind of do it. It is definitely one of those things you may have to take a little bit more time to blend them out, but otherwise they're really beautiful. And I will say though, all of these shades in this palette are extremely pigmented, at least the ones I have used so far. But yeah, so here is where I'm at right now with everything blended out, and then off camera I'm just going to cut my crease using my absolute favorite concealer, which is the Tarte Shape Tape in the shade Fair. So once the concealer is 100% dry, I am now going to take a little bit of cremated on this Shayna B Miami shadow brush. I'm just going to pack this color right where that harsh line is on this outer portion of the cut crease. I'm not really bringing the shade in, I'm only kind of packing this one on just to get rid of that really harsh line. Next, using a dampened BH Cosmetics flat shader brush, I am now going to go into this super pretty shimmer shade called Ice Tray. And then with Ice Tray, I'm going to apply it anywhere that the concealer is visible. And I'm also going to kind of overlap it with cremated just a little bit. Ooh, that is really shimmery. It's actually a really pretty shade. It almost kind of looks a little purple almost. It's kind of like a blue, but it kind of has like almost like a purple kind of look to it as well. So definitely a very unique shade. And then to help me blend Ice Tray into cremated, I'm just taking whatever is left on that Shayna B Miami shadow brush, and I'm kind of flicking whatever is left of cremated inwards towards Ice Tray. And then I'm just going to take my finger and kind of pat over the harsh edge of the two, just to blend them together a little bit better. So here's where I'm at right now with the look, and honestly, I'm really loving how this is going so far. And then off camera, I'm just going to kind of wipe away some of this fallout, as well as apply my foundation and all of that. So here's where I'm at right now with the look. I'm honestly getting like 2000s like scene kid vibes at the second. And then I'm just going to go in with this Milani Supreme Kohl Kajal. It's like one of those twist up pencil eyeliners. And then before that sets, I'm just going to take this little liner brush from EcoTools and I'm just going to lightly smudge this lash line. I'm not really bringing it too far down. I'm just kind of making it just a little bit more smudgy. And then to smoke this down even further, I'm just taking a little bit of Blue Blood mixed with Deceased on this EcoTools smudge brush. I'm going right on the edge of the black, just to kind of feather it down. And make sure when you're doing this that you connect it with the outer kind of corner of the upper portion of the lash line, otherwise you're going to get like this really weird looking dip. So once you have the lower lash line blended out, I am now going to go into this sparkly white in the palette called Cullinan, and I'm going to go in with this Luxie pencil brush. And then with this shade, I'm going to pack the shit out of it in my inner corner, as well as kind of bring it underneath the inner corner as well, just to open up the eye a little bit more. But man, that is a really, really beautiful inner corner highlight. Dang, I really like that a lot. And then with this super small BH Cosmetics brush, I'm just going to highlight my brow. Ooh, that is literally this shade. I need it in like a full-size pan, Jeffree. Like, this shade is gorgeous. Like, if you like an icy highlight, this is bomb as hell. So I'm kind of nosy, so I'm going to take Cullinan on this F19 from AOA Studio and see how it is as a highlighter. Ooh, that is pretty. Like, Jeffree, you really need to make this into a full size, because holy shit, that is blinding. But yeah, so here is the finished look using the Jeffree Star Cosmetics Blue Blood palette. I actually had a ton of fun creating this look for you guys. I'll be honest, when I first originally opened up this palette, I had no idea what kind of look I wanted to do, because online, I feel like with the promo images and like some of the swatches that I was seeing, it really kind of made the palette look kind of peachy and blue. Whereas when I opened up the palette in person, it didn't have like that vibe. So what I thought I was going to do is completely different than what I did today. And I'm actually really excited about that because I'll be honest, I'm really liking how this look turned out. As for my final thoughts about this palette, I do want to say that this palette is extremely extra. Like, it is definitely something that you do not see on the market, whether that is because of the elaborate packaging that kind of looks like a casket, if I'm honest, or because of the really unique color story. I just feel like this palette just screams extra, which is definitely a Jeffree Star aesthetic. As far as the formula goes of this palette, I feel like it is no different than Blood Sugar or the Alien palette. It definitely has a beautiful formula. I will warn you though, the darker matte shades in this palette are just a little bit more tricky to blend out. They're not like a big pain in the ass, but you may have to kind of just take a little bit extra time just to blend them out, but I did get mine to blend out to where I wanted it to be. It just took me a little bit more time than I was expecting, but other than that, they blended out perfectly. I also do want to mention this, but these pastel blue shades over in here are absolutely amazing. It is seriously so hard to find a really nice pastel blue that isn't super chalky or like is super patchy when you try to blend it out. These ones have the most perfect formula and by far one of the best that I have ever tried of a pastel shade. And if you guys know me, I love a lot of color and I use a ton of pastel shades, and these ones have one of the best formulas that I have ever tried. I also want to throw this in here, but this shimmery white shade called Cullinan needs to be in a full-size pan, like a big like highlighting pan, as soon as possible. It is seriously the most beautiful inner corner highlight and face highlight. And I can tell you right now, I'm going to hit pan on that one super quick. And Jeffree, I know you don't know who I am, and I know you don't care about me, but please, please, please make that into a full-size pan. It is so pretty, and I can see a lot of people loving it as much as I do. And I just want to keep it real with you guys. When I first got this palette, I had no idea what to expect because for me, blue eyeshadows are one of the hardest and trickiest shades to work with. I know a lot of people say purple is that way, but I feel like blue is almost worse than purple because like blues, they can be so tricky to blend out and work with, and they can get patchy really quick. So when I saw that this palette was a complete blue palette, I didn't know what to expect. Like, I was assuming like Jeffree would do a great job with it, and I am beyond impressed with it because it is so hard for me to find really nice blue eyeshadows. And for the most part, I'm actually really enjoying these ones. I mean, I haven't tried like all of them in this palette, but so far I'm really loving them. So when it comes down to it, would I recommend the Blue Blood palette to you guys? And for me personally, I feel like this palette is super cool and really unique. If you are somebody that is looking to add a more unique item to your collection, I would highly recommend checking this one out. I have honestly never seen anything like it, and it is definitely something unique in my own collection. And I would say though, if you are looking for a travel-friendly palette, this one is not it. Like, this girl is thick, like 1.5 inches thick. I mean, it has a really nice latch to it, but I probably would not be putting this one in my bag just because it is so bulky and kind of weighted. But I mean, if you wanted to travel with it, you could, but I would probably personally just keep it on my vanity or at home and stuff like that. But overall though, I'm actually really impressed with this palette, and I cannot wait to do more looks with it with you guys because I feel like this palette is just really inspiring. I have never seen anything like it, and honestly, I'm a huge sucker for blue eyeshadows. It's just really hard to find really great quality ones, and so far I'm actually really loving these ones, so I cannot wait to use this palette more. I just want to throw this in here just in case you guys are curious. I know a lot of you guys are very on the fence as to which Jeffree Star Cosmetics palette that you should get, whether that is the Alien palette, the Blood Sugar palette, or the new Blue Blood palette. I know $52 is very steep for a palette, so I just want to give you guys kind of my recommendation and my thoughts about it. As far as the Alien palette goes, that is definitely my least used out of all of my Jeffree Star Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes. I just feel like that palette is just kind of like awkward to hold. It's like the 3D eyes just kind of like are weird. It's really hard to store, not to mention I feel like the hinge on it is just going to break, at least on mine. And when I look at the colors in it, they just don't really inspire me. Like, I feel like I can't really do all that much with that palette, and because of that, I just don't really gravitate towards it. As for the Blood Sugar palette, I feel like that is a definite staple to have in your collection, especially if you are somebody that is looking for some nice neutral shades as well as some bright pops of color. And I feel like red is one of those colors that is really easy to get into, especially if you are trying to get more into color but you don't know where to start. I feel like that palette would be perfect for you since you are getting, you know, your essential neutral shades, but you're also getting a really bright pop of pink, a bright pop of purple, as well as a ton of reds and kind of burgundy shades. And last but not least, for the Blue Blood palette, I feel like this one is definitely for somebody that is looking for a ton of color. I feel like with the Blue Blood palette, you really can't do all that much with it. Like, I feel like you are kind of limited, but I do feel if you are somebody that is looking for a really unique palette and you just want to like try something different and you already have a ton of neutral palettes, I would definitely recommend picking that one up. But yeah, so with all of that said, I do want to share with you guys some swatches of this palette. Cullinan, Minty, Crystal Flesh, I'm Cold, Untouchable, Priceless, Power, Blue Blood, Deceased, Ice Dry, Blue Monday, Flourishing, Wealthy, Celebrity Skin, Entitled, Ocean Ice, Cremated, Undertaker. But yeah, so in the comments down below, let me know what your thoughts are on this look, and as always, I would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button down below, and if you would like to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram account is @lethal_kitten. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and until next time, bye!